U.S. Secretary of State Rex Tillerson went to Moscow as part of the latest crisis in the relationship between Russia and the United States. Dale Hurd has that story.
Right now, we're not getting along with Russia at all.
It wasn't supposed to be like this. U.S.-Russia relations were supposed to improve under the Trump administration. But the Syrian nerve gas attack blamed on Russia's ally Bashar al-Assad and the U.S. missile attack against Syria has caused U.S.-Russia ties to hit bottom.
The current state of U.S.-Russia relations is at a low point.
Russian President Vladimir Putin also said on Russian TV that the level of trust has deteriorated. This after Secretary of State Rex Tillerson faced an unusually hostile reception in Moscow. The U.S. missile strike on Syria that triggered the diplomatic crisis hit a Syrian airbase where there had been Russian military personnel. So did Moscow know about the chemical weapons?
I would like to think that they didn't know, but certainly they could have. They were there, so we'll find out.
After a tense two-hour closed-door meeting with Putin, Tillerson then angered Russia by bluntly calling for regime change in Damascus.
Our view is that the reign of the Assad family is coming to an end.
But Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov, referring to Iraq, said experiments like that, which are built on an obsession with overthrowing dictators, totalitarian or authoritarian leaders, we have already seen. We know the ending of it way too well. The two sides also agreed to disagree about Ukraine, where Moscow backs rebel forces. With relations between the two nuclear powers worsening, Google Trends reports internet searches for the term World War III have hit an all-time high.
The world's two foremost nuclear powers cannot have this kind of relationship.
And the U.S. warned Russia that it is only isolating itself with its continued support of Assad. Dale Hurd, CBN News.
We talk more about the crisis between the United States and Russia back in our studio with Middle East expert Joel Rosenberg. Joel, what's your reaction to what's happening now after the Trump administration struck that Syrian airbase?
Well, I don't think Vladimir Putin could have imagined when Rex Tillerson became Secretary of State that the first conversation they might have, or his government might have, would be such a contentious one. Right. Putin gave Tillerson the Order of Friendship, the highest civilian award you can give him, because he did so many oil and gas deals with Russia. But I think what's interesting is that you have President Trump having chosen Tillerson, and this may prove that this was a wise choice. I was skeptical, but if you have somebody who knows the leadership, knows Putin particularly, and can say, listen, we want to work with you, but you can't be supporting people who are using weapons of mass destruction against anyone, much less their own children. That's a good message to send, an important message to send. I think most of the world has reacted positively to President Trump's order to strike, and rightly so. Not in 8 years did the Obama administration ever create a cost to the Assad regime for all kinds of atrocities. It was right that President Trump did so, and it's wrong for the Russians to side with Assad. I hope we see the Russians move to remove Assad.
A lot of people have said this is a market change, obviously, from the Obama administration. Some people have said there's a new sheriff in town. What new signal does this send to Russia, Iran, and other enemies of the U.S. in the region?
It could. I mean, it does so in the sense, it sends a new signal in the sense that, the Obama administration never used military force even while promising it, which, of course, when the president abandoned his own red line threat warning to Assad, it absolutely cratered American credibility in the Middle East and worldwide. So President Trump is right to have actually enforced a red line that Obama never enforced. President Trump exposed the lie of the Putin administration that said that all of the chemical weapons had been removed from Syria. Clearly that wasn't true. The question now is whether the Trump administration develops an actual strategy. What are its goals? We've heard they want to remove Assad. We've heard that they're not going to remove Assad. We've heard that we're not going into Syria, but we're already there. We've got 1,000 special forces on the ground. So they've got to make some determinations. I think in the short term, Trump is right to be cautious, not to try to own Syria. Syria's a disaster. It's imploding. We can't fix it. But we can have some objectives. One, you can't use weapons of mass destruction without punishment. Two, that we are going to take out the Syrian Air Force, that we are going to create safe zones for Syrians to come and have air cover and humanitarian relief. These would be some initial objectives, but you also have to have an objective of protecting Israel and Jordan from retaliation by the Assad regime. And you've got to have an objective that Iran can't end up the owner of Syria. This would be a horrible conclusion to this civil war. Are those doable? It depends on how serious Trump is. So he's made a first good step, but we've got to see what are his actual goals and how will he seek to achieve them.